In a world where quiet acts of kindness often dissolve into the ether, your deliberate choice to pour your spirit into uplifting others emerges as a rare emblem of profound gracie virtue that commands silent reverence. Yet the cruel irony of our existence reveals itself plainly. Noble intentions, however pure, do not always bloom into transformation, particularly when the one we seek to guide remains barricaded against the winds of evolution. The sage Epictetus, that indomitable voice from antiquity, proclaimed with crystalline clarity, "It is not the occurrences that forge our inner tempests, but the interpretations we etch upon them." Herein lies the poignant truth even. The most luminous goodwill falters when met with a soul unprimed for metamorphosis. We beckon you into this introspective odyssey, a meticulous mapping of the terrain where aid flourishes and where it withers against unyielding walls. Together we shall unearth the subtle harbingers that your benevolence may be adrift in futility, and illuminate 9 archetypes of the human spirit who, for myriad veiled motives, turn away from the extended hand, be it their fierce autonomy or an unseen fortress of denial. Linger with us through every whisper of this discourse. To hasten past a single revelation might eclipse a gem of foresight tailored precisely for your unfolding path, or unmask a blind spot shadowing your present trials. Before we embark, affirm your alliance with our sanctuary of wisdoms. Subscribe if the thread of connection feels vital, and in the forge of comments below, forge your own narrative. Recount a moment when your olive branch of help splintered into unintended thorns, or bloomed unexpectedly. With hearts attuned, let us descend into the 9 veiled sentinels who defy deliverance. Our voyage commences. Archetype 1. The Architects of Phantom Realms. Commence with an expanse of empathy toward those you might instinctively sidestep in your quest to illumine the dreamweavers, ensnared in labyrinths of their own conjured mirages. Amid life's inexorable march, certain souls elect exile into realms of fabrication, erecting citadels of alternate truths as bulwarks against the raw edges of existence. These self-anointed scribes of destiny elevate their illusions to the throne of verity, draping veils of artifice over the psyche to shield it from the gales of dread and disquiet. Such sanctuaries, though, cradles of fleeting solace, morph inexorably into iron-barred confines, where the unvarnished mirror of Stoic introspection, that relentless summons to gaze unflinchingly upon the self, is supplanted by the seductive haze of a domain where discord dissolves and desires reign unchallenged. This entanglement with the ethereal poses a labyrinthine enigma. Can these spectral edifices endure the dawn of unfiltered authenticity? Or must we summon the valor to dismantle the scaffold and confront the specters of evasion we've long consigned to twilight? To probe these chimeric domains transcends idle fascination. It is a clarion call to pierce the shroud of sophistry and unearth the audacity to inhabit a life of unadorned candor, imperfections and all. In the gloom of perceptual distortions and skewed cognitions, the Stoic luminaries kindle the torch of sagacity and liberated cognition. They herald that ascension to profundity, and worldly acuity demands an unceasing crusade against our innate frailties. Yet, a formidable adversary endures. Those ethereal wanderers adrift in the convolutions of their self-woven deceptions, where they've burrowed into narratives of their crafting, mistaking figment for foundation. Far from malice, this is the alchemy of self-preservation, a balm against lacerating wounds, or an insatiable thirst to affirm one's imagined eminence. Within these idyllic illusions, they forge paradisiacal refuges for the spirit, unwittingly forging shackles upon authentic evolution. To shepherd such wanderers demands the alchemy of forbearance and discernment, for they've fortified their bastions with impregnable ramparts of the mind, repelling verity even as it gleams in stark relief. Genuine transmutation dawns solely when the fissures in their foundational fictions fracture wide a odyssey that may necessitate the steady lantern of a seasoned psychotherapeutic guide. This inner skirmish reverberates beyond the personal, echoing in the cacophony of contemporary civic discourse, where partisans entomb themselves in ideological citadels, impervious to the siege of empirical clarity or the overtures of reason. Ensconced in the fortress of fallacious certitude, the Stoic doctrines rise as a celestial pharos, cleaving the fog of discord to steer us toward havens of cognitive emancipation and layered comprehension.
Archetype 2. The Veiled Predators of Goodwill. Woven into the grand loom of existence are those cunning prowlers who don the mantle of camaraderie to stalk the fruits of altruism, transmuting benevolence into their private quarry. They parade in the garb of affinity, yet harbor a core of unyielding avarice. How then do we discern the genuine ember of alliance from the flicker of duplicity? The twin sentinels of acuity and perpetual scrutiny shall be our compass. Authentic kinship manifests as a steadfast anchorage amid tempests, proffering succor not merely in crisis, but in the quiet cadence of mutual reverence and stewardship. Conversely, the marauders betray their guise through a ceaseless litany of lopsided entreaties, often for trifles they could vanquish solo, betraying a rhythm of requisitions that unmasks their ulterior calculus. Thus, as we chart the currents of communion, let our magnanimous essences remain unclouded by the mirage of motives. Temper our largesse with prudence, channeling it toward those who cherish and mirror its essence. Echoing this vigilance are the virtuosos of moral leverage, sculptors of remorse who wield flattery as a velvet snare. As my steadfast ally, surely you'll extend this grace. Appeals to aid are innate. Yet these artisans habitually summon reinforcements for skirmishes they could conquer unaided, undervaluing the mosaic of your hours. Peril lurks when assent flows from compulsion rather than conviction, ensnared by the specter of culpability for demurral. Even after myriad liberations, they persist unaltered, convinced of an inexhaustible reservoir of rescuers. The Stoic decree? Contemplate severance sans remorse. Your equilibrium and mandates eclipse all. In this equilibrium of discernment, we reclaim the sovereignty of our compassion. Archetype 3. The sovereigns of solipsism. Within the infinite vault of the cosmos, select egos crown themselves as the axis upon which the spheres of fate pivot, demanding cosmic obeisance. This cosmic hubris, a quirk of our primal wiring, elevates self-reverence to an eclipsing force, rendering them resonant chambers of their own grandeur. Inevitably, our trajectories intersect with these orbital narcissists, for whom every cosmic ripple, be it a mundane snarl of thoroughfares or a serendipitous ascent in vocation, revolves inexorably toward their narrative epicenter. Envision voicing the vexation of snarled commutes, only for their imperial gaze to eclipse your lament with a wave of disdain. Such trifles pale against my exalted burdens. Or, in the effulgence of proclaiming a career zenith, watch as they deftly reroute the discourse to their own stagnant saga, transforming colloquy into a soliloquy of singular spotlight. This vampiric ethos of sentiment siphons vitality and elation, commandeering exchanges into theaters where their sentiments alone command the stage. Confronted by this vortex, the astute inquirer must interrogate: does fealty to such self-ordained deities merit our orbit? Do we possess the fortitude to mandate reciprocity, compelling acknowledgement of our emotional sovereignty? Paramount is the Stoic axiom. Amid vows to shepherd another's ascent, if met with intransigence, they anchor as anchors to our own voyage. As we sculpt our metamorphosis, their accusatory tempests may manifest as tempests thwarting our sails. Herein, sagacity whispers of sanctuary, erect bulwarks of detachment, for in certain epochs, self-preservation transcends altruism, a cardinal Stoic stratagem in warding the psyche from the presumptions of the presumptuous. Archetype 4. The deniers of the fractured mirror. In the boundless dominion of metacognition and refinement, a perennial adversary stalks those who evade the sacrament of culpability's confession, sentinels who shutter their gaze from the architecture of their own missteps, barring remorse or reckoning from their lexicon. This posture unveils not merely a dearth of introspective rigor and modest carriage, bedrocks of Stoic ascension, but a warped cosmology wherein they envision themselves exempt from fate's forge, as Seneca illuminates. Discern not our lapses as indelible stains upon the self, akin to confounding malady with vitality. In serene assimilation and contemplation of our stumbles, we encounter them as nature's inexorable edicts, transfiguring via lucid rumination into crucibles of cultivation. Those who repudiate their blemishes thwart the right of self-scrutiny, erecting dams against their own deluge of advancement. Stoicism extols the sanctity of embracing fallibility as humanity's hallmark. Through avowal and proprietorship, we alchemize errors into escalators of enrichment. As Epictetus intones, perturbations arise not from phenomena, but are prisms upon them. Thus disclaiming one's role in discord is a perceptual peril, a verdict Marcus Aurelius bids us sidestep, redirecting vigor toward virtue's forge rather than reprisal's pyre. Our trajectory thence, unburdened by bitterness, attuned to equanimity's pursuit and solitary evolution. Freedom, Epictetus avows, stands as the solitary quarry meriting chase. A profundity urging tactical retreat from the obdurate in their oversights, toward realms of self-lucidity and repose. In this 21st century Stoic renaissance, we inherit a lodestar for fortitude, serenity, and affluence. Not merely endurance against fortune's caprice, but the perspicacity to harness our latent splendor for fruition and felicity. This odyssey to dominion and harmony incarnates liberty's purest hymn, unfettered by externalities, attuned to nature's symphony.
Archetype 5, the nomads of the fleeting now. Our quintessence summons a contemplative crossroads, souls who shun the horizon's summons, nestling in the present's tender folds, a posture that, while resonant with Stoic savoring of the instant, diverges from its edict of foresight's forge. Stoicism venerates immersion in the ephemeral, yet mandates stewardship for tomorrow's tempest via intentional praxis. Seneca, that oracle of anticipation, counseled attuning the spirit to impending tides, envisioning tomorrow's trials as organic outgrowths of today's resolve. To discern latent luminosity in kin and implore its awakening is compassion's cadence. Yet, through Stoic spectacles, each must unearth and wield their own ember. Marcus Aurelius, imperial sage, decreed humanity's sway over occurrences mirrors their essence, implying our present chisel sculpts futures unbound. Urging forward gaze negates not trepidation's legitimacy, but integrates it as existence's warp and weft. Stoicism proffers no erasure of unease, but armaments to navigate its swells without submersion. Epictetus reinforces, turmoil stems not from tides, but our tidal readings. Beholding those adrift in temporal complacency may evoke squandered sparks, yet wisdom whispers reverence for divergent cadences, each pilgrim's tempo and trail sovereign. As we extend lanterns of exhortation, honor the sanctity of self-scripted sojourns. In due cosmic measure, may each ignite their trajectory, harmonizing with Stoic tenets of introspection and deference to divergent dawns as pillars of profundity and blossoming. Archetype 6, the inmates of gloom's eternal twilight. In an arena besieged by adversities, despondency weaves a web where legions falter, especially in this sixth sanctum of soliloquy, where we wage war against perennial melancholy's shroud through Stoic prisms. No happenstance that the ancients inscribed upon our collective conscience. Cultivating an indomitable essence, transmuting shadows into conduits of radiance, anchors a life's profundity. Seneca's eternal refrain. Not from difficulty's shadow do we recoil, but from recoiling do difficulties loom. This tableau unveils the true sentinel, not vicissitudes without, but the valor and vista within. To dwell in dusk defies Stoic sacrament, a dispassionate, unswayed appraisal of circumstance, wherein repose blooms from dominion over retorts. Epictetus, with lapidary authority, adjures, eschew, frets beyond our aegis, hone the harp of rejoinder. Thus, Stoic ethos ignites tranquility via thanksgiving's flame, saluting life's lustrous facets, even in eclipse. Marcus Aurelius, paragon of ponderance, chronicled gratitude's sacrament, the dawn's boon, to respire, cogitate, revel, adore, a privilege peerless. Through these titans' legacy, we are summoned to recast our cosmos, not from terror's throne or gloom's grip, but from audacity's altar, optimism's orbit, and a heart hewn in homage. In despondency's penumbra, Stoicism gleams as enlightenment's eternal. Bolster brethren, yet barricade the self. We cannot coerce metamorphosis. Each unearths their meridian. Stoic doctrine discerns optimal arenas for exertion's arrow, oftentimes shielding one's psyche from Sisyphean sieges. Channel toward the receptive, seekers of symmetry and sunnier skies, embodying self-sculpture's zeal. In tandem, we advance the arc to authentic accord and bliss. Archetype 7, the absolvers of their own reckoning. At Stoicism's molten core pulses the cipher to unshackle from destiny's decree, a visceral grasp of proprietorship's mantle. The elders decreed, not fortune's fiat, but our forge of choices and sentiments, calibrates our caliber. Epictetus distilled this elixir. Not the hammer's blow, but the anvil's echo, shapes the soul. A clarion to sovereignty, scrutiny, and scorning the siren of scapegoats, be it happenstance or kin, for our stumbles or sieges. Marcus Aurelius, philosopher sovereign incarnate, embodied this ethos in Meditation's margins, interrogating each stride not for self-flagellation but edification's elevation. He discerned accountability not as yoke, but laurel, an avenue to refinement and resurgence. Stoic canon transcends resignation to the inexorable. It galvanizes harnessing our latent leviathan through disciplined candor, acknowledging every edict's echo. In this crucible, metacognition and intrinsic impetus for overhaul reign supreme. Stoicism intones, metamorphosis cannot be mandated. Each unearths their ethos alone. In stewardship, evade the maelstrom of ire or disillusion from their rigidity. Embrace it, funneling focus to solitary ascent, soul serene amid the ungovernable. Epictetus's echo endures. Liberty's lone lodestar we claim. Archetype 8. The heirs to phantom entitlements. Across Stoicism's boundless bazaar, a sterling precept gleams. The vanity of grasping unearned laurels, forsaking virtue's vineyard for privilege's phantom. Those pursuing bespoke boons, sans toil, tread a treacherous tangent. The Stoics, bastions of buoyancy and breadth, avow authentic merit resides not in hereditary halos or assumed exemptions, but in tilling wisdom's soil, justice's furrow, valor's vine, and temperance's trellis. Epictetus implored ceaseless striving for desire, his dignity, anticipating boons without commensurate crusade, courts, disillusion's deluge, and soul's unrest. Marcus Aurelius, in Nature's Nexus, meditated upon equity's edict. Never exalt above equals, heed power's ephemeral pulse, humility's hymn. The Stoics' decree, the cosmos extends no charters. Life's lattice weaves from causality's cascade. Supreme spoils crown the ethical artisan and assiduous architect, not the aspirant of airy arrogations. Confronting entitlement's entourage, Stoicism counsels exemplar's elegance, modeling restraint and rectitude, unveiling exertion's equity, prod their ponderance. What merits forge true bounty? Deeds, not daydreams. Eschew visceral recoils to ingratitude's gale. All enact from their enlightenment's epoch, and oft, unvarnished fallout from fanciful fiat imparts the sternest seminar.